My brother's fiancée accused me of getting her pregnant after I fired her, and my family believed her lie. But what the court revealed changed everything. I'm a 35-year-old male who runs a small computer repair shop in town. I make a decent living, pay my taxes, and generally mind my own business. Nothing special, nothing fancy. Just a normal 35-year-old guy handling his own. I didn't think that kind of boring life could make me a target, but I was dead wrong. My older brother, Raphael, a 38-year-old male, has always been the put-together guy. He married young, divorced without drama, and seemed to have his life figured out. About 3 years ago, he introduced us to Marina, a 32-year-old female, his new girlfriend, who was different from his ex. She seemed calm and friendly on the surface, but there was something off about her that I noticed right away. From the first awkward dinner at my mom's house, I could see Marina wasn't what she appeared to be. She constantly dominated conversations, steered topics back to herself, and had this way of subtly putting others down while making it sound like a compliment. I remember once when my mom served dinner, Marina commented on how brave it was that my mom still tried to cook traditional dishes at her age. Another time, she complimented my cousin's outfit by saying how courageous it was to wear those colors with her skin tone. While everyone else was falling for her act, I just kept it neutral. Didn't fake enthusiasm, didn't pretend we were instant family. I think that's when I got on her radar. She always had an angle. When people talked about their problems, she'd somehow make it about herself, even with strangers. There was always this weird competitive edge. I once saw her argue with a cashier over a $2 coupon for 20 minutes, making the teenager almost cry. A few months later, Raphael announced they were engaged. My dad pulled me aside afterward and said, "That woman's going to be trouble for Raphael, mark my words." He saw through the nonsense too, but hey, it's not our place to tell a grown man who to marry. I didn't think much of it until Raphael asked me to give Marina a job at my shop. She wanted part-time work while planning the wedding, and he thought I could help her out. When I hesitated, my mom called, insisting that family helps family and that it would only be temporary. Raphael kept pushing, claiming I was being difficult for no reason, and, in one particularly irritating conversation, said I owed him for referring some business my way last year. In the end, I agreed. Biggest mistake of my life. From day one, she was a nightmare employee. She showed up late, talked to customers like they were idiots, and treated my other employees like servants. She constantly interrupted Kevin, my lead technician, while he was helping customers, contradicting his technical advice with completely wrong information. She accidentally deleted a customer database we were supposed to recover, then blamed it on confusing procedures. To top it off, she started changing the work schedule without telling me, giving herself the easiest shifts and pushing the heavy lifting onto others. The first week, she screwed up inventory counts so badly we ended up ordering double the RAM modules we needed. When I mentioned it, she just shrugged and said her finance brain worked differently than my technical brain. She was always on her phone but would quickly put it away whenever I walked by. One time I caught her on Instagram during a customer consultation. The customer, an older guy who needed data recovery on his late wife's laptop, was explaining how important the photos were, and Marina was scrolling through vacation pictures, barely listening. The final straw came when I caught her going through private conversations on a customer's computer we hadn't formatted yet. When I confronted her, she didn't even have the decency to act embarrassed, just smiled and said it was part of her natural curiosity. The customer was a local doctor. Those messages could have contained confidential patient information. I could have been legally liable. When I explained the severity, she rolled her eyes and said, "Nobody's going to sue you. Don't be so uptight." After a month of this crap, I fired her. I wasn't a jerk about it. I documented everything, showed Raphael the evidence, and he seemed to understand. But that night, he called back after obviously talking to Marina. His tone had completely changed. "You just didn't give her a chance. She's really upset about how you treated her," he said. I told him I gave her plenty of chances and documented every incident. "Yeah, sure," he spat back. "You've always been like this, thinking you know everything, too good to help out your own family. She's going to be my wife and you pull this? Screw you, man." That's when things got weird. At family gatherings, Marina would either completely ignore me or make these passive-aggressive comments that nobody else seemed to notice. Then her behavior shifted. She started finding excuses to be alone with me, brushing past me, making suggestive comments just loud enough for me to hear. I kept my distance without being disrespectful. Once, at a Labor Day barbecue, she cornered me in the kitchen. Everyone else was outside. She stood too close, asked if I was still angry with her, and ran her hand down my arm. I stepped back, told her we were good but I needed to help my dad with the grill, and got out of there. I caught her watching me for the rest of the day with this weird smirk. Things went to absolute hell after that. 3 months ago, my shop door banged open during closing time. Raphael stormed in, face twisted with rage. "You're dead!" he shouted, loud enough that Kevin, who was finishing up in the back, came running out. "Marina's pregnant. She says you're the father. Care to explain?" I literally couldn't speak for several seconds. Then I told him he was out of his mind. I'd never touched Marina, never had any kind of relationship with her. Raphael didn't believe me. He lunged across the counter, grabbed my shirt, and had to be pulled away by Kevin. "Marina gave me details and dates that matched up," he snarled as Kevin forced him toward the door. "I can't see her making this up." Within days, my name was mud. My mother was crying on the phone about how I'd betrayed the family. My cousin Valeria sent a 3-paragraph text about how she always knew something was off about me, and how I was lucky Marina wasn't pressing charges for what I did to her. My Uncle Dave called me directly, his voice cold. "You're shameless, taking advantage of your brother's fiancée. You disgust me." My aunt uninvited me from a family dinner. Everyone wanted to stay away from the monster I'd supposedly become. My dad was the only one who called from the start. "That woman's been looking for a way to cause trouble since day one," he told me. "We're going to fight this." No one else, not a single other person, asked for evidence. No one questioned Marina. They took her word as sacred truth while she walked around with this smug, victorious smile, knowing she had me cornered, but that was just the beginning because I wasn't about to lower my head and take this. If my brother and half my family wanted to throw me under the bus based on zero evidence, they were about to learn exactly what happens when you back the wrong horse. 2 weeks after Marina dropped her bomb, things got even worse. Instead of anyone coming to their senses and questioning her story, I found myself sinking deeper into a swamp of silence and suspicion. The accusation spread beyond family, neighbors, my mom's coworkers, people at the gym. In a town this size, word travels fast, and suddenly I was that guy, the quiet, normal computer guy who turned out to be a predator. I started noticing changes immediately. The barista at my regular coffee shop who used to chat about weekend plans now just silently handed over my order. The owner of the hardware store next to my shop, who I'd known for 7 years, suddenly found reasons to be in the back whenever I came in. My business took a direct hit. 3 regular clients called to cancel their service contracts within the same week, all with vague excuses about budget cuts or going in a different direction. Right after years of satisfied service, they all coincidentally decide to cut costs the same month Marina's story hits town. It wasn't just older customers either. A tech startup that had been sending me all their hardware repairs suddenly went dark. The owner, who I'd played basketball with occasionally, stopped returning my calls. Later, I found out he'd switched to a shop 30 miles away rather than keep working with me. Raphael completely cut me off, wouldn't answer calls or texts, not even to acknowledge my demand for a DNA test. His silence wasn't passive, it had weight. It was a condemnation without a trial. My mother took Raphael's side completely. She called me one night, her voice shaking, and asked if it was possible I'd done something to Marina. That was the moment I realized how deep this went. Even my own mother, who'd known me my entire life, had let doubt creep in. "Possible," I said. "Mom, I've never even been alone with her except at the shop with employees and customers around. You know me. You think I'd do this?" She hesitated before answering. That hesitation said, "Everything my dad, though, was my rock through all this." "Your brother's been blind since the day he met her," he said, "and your mother always sides with him, always has." He helped me start documenting everything, building a case. Meanwhile, Marina was playing her role with disturbing precision. She kept adding new details to her story. How I'd been understanding while she was going through emotional confusion, how I'd manipulated her with sweet words, how I'd tried to make her have an abortion and then threatened to destroy her socially when she refused. She told this story with tears in her eyes to Raphael, to my mother, to my aunt, who called to tell me she couldn't help but feel horrified by what she'd heard. There was still no medical evidence. Marina claimed to be pregnant but hadn't shown any documentation. She refused a DNA test 3 times, claiming it would be risky for the fetus and that she needed emotional stability rather than a hostile environment. I started to wonder if this wasn't just an attack on me, but a calculated strategy to gain something else: attention, control over Raphael, money, or just the sadistic pleasure of destroying someone's life. This wasn't drama. This was premeditated destruction of another person's reputation. Kevin was the only employee who stuck around after the rumors started. "I saw how she acted, boss," he told me, after a particularly dead day at the shop. "She was always trying to get you alone, touching your arm, leaning in too close. I watched her do it when she thought no one was looking. She's full of crap, and I'll tell anyone who asks." My dad suggested I talk directly to Raphael one more time. I agreed to meet him at a diner. Big mistake. Raphael showed up already worked up, eyes bloodshot like he hadn't slept in days. "Just admit what you did," he said, voice low but intense. "Just admit it." I looked him straight in the eye. I didn't touch Marina, ever. She's lying, and you're too blind to see it. He stood up so fast his chair fell backward. People turned to stare as he leaned over the table. "You're dead to me," he hissed, then stormed out. That night, I contacted a lawyer who specializes in defamation cases. After listening to my story for nearly an hour, he looked me in the eye and said, "This isn't going to stop on its own. If you let this version prevail without fighting it, no matter how innocent you are, everyone will remember what she said, not what you kept silent." That hit me hard because he was right. What hurts most isn't the lie itself, but the abandonment. The feeling of being guilty by default, the way Raphael and my mother chose the comfort of the lie over the discomfort of questioning it. But I'm telling you right now, this game isn't going to end how Marina expects. I'm going to force each and every one of them to look me in the eye when the truth hits them. And when that happens, I won't hesitate to collect on every single act of betrayal they've committed against me. A month into this nightmare, and the situation has gotten even more twisted. Every morning I wake up feeling like I'm on trial by some invisible court. One that doesn't need evidence, just rumors. Marina's story has become more elaborate with each telling. Now she claims she used to visit my shop after hours, that we'd stay alone until late, that I bought her food as an excuse to get close. She says I offered her money for silence, forced her to delete threatening messages. She tells these lies with such conviction that I almost admire her acting skills. She's not confused or hurt, she's a calculated performer enjoying her own drama. She's gotten specific with the details too. Claims we had a moment in the back storage room during my shop's Christmas party. Problem is, I've never had a Christmas party at my shop. We always just do gift cards and an extra day off. It's such an obvious lie, but Raphael is too far gone to notice these inconsistencies. The effects on my daily life have been brutal. I've lost 3 major contracts with clients who suddenly preferred not to get involved in situations that could compromise the integrity of their company. My reputation, which I built over years of honest work, is now a liability. My largest corporate client, a medical practice with 4 locations, pulled their $4,000 monthly service contract overnight. The office manager, who I'd worked with for 3 years, couldn't even look me in the eye when she delivered the news. "It's not personal," she said. "It's just optics." Optics. Like I'm some PR problem, not a human being whose life is being systematically dismantled by lies. Even at the diner where I've had breakfast every Saturday for 5 years, the owner, who I used to talk sports and politics with, couldn't look me in the eye, just put down my coffee and disappeared into the kitchen without a word. That's when it really hit me. This accusation has taken root in people's minds, evidence or not. I don't need proof to know it. I can see it in the averted gazes, the closed doors, the conversations that die when I enter a room. Meanwhile, Marina has started posting passive-aggressive crap on social media, never mentioning me by name but with phrases like, "When monsters have the face of an angel, and justice comes in the form of a child." People comment with supportive messages, not knowing they're participating in a public lynching. I've had to start taking screenshots of everything she posts. My lawyer says we need to document the pattern of defamation, how she's deliberately cultivating public sympathy while destroying my reputation. It's surreal watching her weave this elaborate fantasy, knowing the truth but being powerless to make anyone believe it. The irony is that while I'm fighting to clear my name, she's created this heroic narrative where she's not just a victim but a martyr. And nobody, not one person except my dad and Kevin, has demanded proof. The presumption of innocence apparently doesn't apply to me. My best friend Roberto has been solid throughout this mess. He's known me since high school and didn't buy Marina's story for a second. Remember Jen Miller from senior year? He reminded me over burgers at his place, the only place besides my apartment where I felt comfortable. She pulled the same manipulative crap, different story, same playbook. Marina's going to slip up, and when she does, we'll be ready. The only progress has been through my lawyer. We've systematically documented every incident from the day Marina started working at my shop. Kevin gave a written statement about her inappropriate behavior toward me. We collected employee reports of her incompetence and unprofessionalism. My lawyer even tracked down Marina's previous employers, uncovering a pattern of workplace issues and false accusations. Turns out, this wasn't her first rodeo. She'd worked at a marketing firm in the next county over and left under mysterious circumstances. My lawyer got in touch with her former supervisor, who initially refused to say anything but, after we explained the situation, reluctantly admitted there had been concerns about her interactions with colleagues and questions about her professional conduct. Nothing specific enough to be actionable, but enough to establish a pattern. We've started the process to legally require Marina to take a DNA test once the pregnancy is far enough along that it poses no risk. It's not easy. There are protocols, timelines, authorizations from agencies that don't share my urgency. But it's a path to the truth, and that keeps me going. I've also started documenting everything. Dates, names, behaviors, exact phrases. My dad's been helping, talking to people who know Marina, looking for inconsistencies in her story. Then things went from bad to worse. I was closing up my shop late one night when Raphael pulled into the parking lot. He'd clearly been drinking. I could see it in how he moved, aggressive and unsteady. I stayed inside and locked the door. He started pounding on the glass. "Come out and face me, you piece of..." I was about to call the cops, but before I could, Raphael picked up a brick from the landscaping and threw it through my front window. Glass shattered everywhere. Then he climbed through, cutting himself in the process, and charged at me. I'm not proud of what happened next, but it was self-defense. I sidestepped, and he crashed into a display case. When he got up, I hit him once, clean, straight to the jaw. He went down hard. Neighbors must have heard. The cops showed up 5 minutes later. They took statements, documented the damage. Raphael was arrested for destruction of property and attempted assault. Unlike before, this time I pressed charges. I was done letting him off the hook. My mother called me that night, sobbing uncontrollably. "How could you?" She kept saying, "He's your brother, and you're sending him to jail." When I tried to explain how he had attacked me, she cut me off. "I don't have a son who would do this," she said, and hung up. My dad arrived as they were putting Raphael in the squad car. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded. We both watched as they drove off. "You did the right thing pressing charges," he said quietly. "He needs to face consequences. But remember, he's still your brother." "Doesn't feel like it," I answered. "This ends now," my dad said. "Tomorrow, we push harder for that test." I'm not naive. I know that even if a DNA test proves I'm not the father, some people will still believe something must have happened, that where there's smoke, there's fire. I may never recover what I've lost, but I'm not going to let Marina get away with this. She may have won the first round, but I have the patience, resources, and determination to confront her on her own turf. What she's done isn't a mistake, it's destructive slander, and I'm going to return every blow, but mine will be surgical, precise, legal, and definitive. 3 months in, and my life has become an emotional wasteland. Each day is a carbon copy of the nightmare before. Waking up, going through the motions, living under constant suspicion for something I didn't do. My routines are mechanical now. The isolation has dug a hole so deep I sometimes wonder if I'll ever climb out. Business is down almost 70%. Most days I sit in the shop alone while Kevin handles the few repairs that still come in. I've had to dip into my savings just to cover rent and utilities. This isn't just hurting my reputation, it's attacking my livelihood. I've started taking a different route to work, avoiding the main streets where I might run into people I know. It's just exhausting, constantly seeing that flicker of judgment in people's eyes. Yesterday, I overheard a customer whispering to Kevin, asking if that guy still owned the shop. Kevin, to his credit, defended me firmly, but the damage was done. I stayed in the back room until they left. But today, something changed. The darkness has finally started to recede. The truth, the actual provable truth, has broken through the wall of lies. After weeks of legal back and forth, we finally got what I'd been demanding from day one, the test. My lawyer had to push hard, with the judge ultimately ordering a prenatal paternity test that posed no risk to the fetus. Marina's lawyer tried everything to delay, claiming she was emotionally unstable, that the test would cause irreversible consequences, that they didn't want to expose the victim to more pressure. But after my dad leaked the case to some reporter friends, and it started gaining attention, the judge agreed. The procedure was done at a private clinic under legal supervision. I'll never forget Marina's face when she walked in. No fear, no shame, just annoyance. Like this was all a waste of her precious time, a minor speed bump before returning to her performance. She walked right past me, chin up, like I was beneath her notice. But I caught that moment, that split second where her mask slipped, and I saw the panic in her eyes. She knew what the results would show. She already knew the mess waiting for her. The 2 weeks waiting for results were the longest of my life. I barely slept, kept my phone in hand constantly, waiting for the call that would confirm what I already knew. When the results finally came, I didn't react. I just sat at my desk, staring at the paper, probability of paternity, 0%. That 0 was my redemption. Proof that everything I'd endured was the result of a calculated lie by someone who underestimated how hard I'd fight back. My lawyer sent the results to Raphael that same day. For 3 days, silence, total radio silence. As if everyone who'd been so quick to condemn me now needed to hide from their mistake. Finally, on the 4th day, I got a text from Raphael. "I need time. We'll talk to you later." That's it. No apology, no acknowledgement of his error, no shame, just an empty, lukewarm, cowardly message that only strengthened my resolve. Then things got even more interesting. My lawyer, who'd been investigating the background of the case for a potential defamation lawsuit, found inconsistencies in the medical documents Marina had presented, altered dates, non-existent doctors, formats that didn't match the clinic they claimed to use. When we cross-referenced with the clinic where the DNA test was done, we discovered they had no previous record of Marina, no appointments, no checkups, no prescriptions, nothing. That's when my lawyer carefully suggested what I'd started to suspect. Marina had never been pregnant. I almost couldn't believe it at first, not because I trusted her, I already knew she was a fraud, but because it seemed inconceivable that someone would go this far just to destroy another person, fake a pregnancy, falsify documents, maintain the lie for months without flinching, all to get revenge on someone who fired her from a part-time job and rejected her advances. But the evidence was undeniable. Marina wasn't just a liar, she was a pathological manipulator with a talent for destruction. My lawyer dug deeper. He found a pattern of similar behavior in her past. She'd pulled similar stunts in 2 previous relationships, though never to this extreme. Ex-boyfriends who'd wronged her suddenly found themselves accused of stalking, harassment, or emotional abuse. One had nearly lost his teaching job over false claims she'd made to his principal. Fortunately for him, she'd gotten sloppy with the details, and security footage proved he was nowhere near where she claimed the incident occurred. We took everything to the judge. The DNA results, the irregular medical documents, the threatening messages, and testimonies from people who were finally starting to question the story. Kevin testified that he'd seen Marina making passes at me multiple times and getting angry when I didn't respond. Roberto provided screenshots of contradictory social media posts she'd made about her pregnancy. Now the house of cards is crumbling, not with a bang, but with the slow, inevitable creak of a lie that can no longer support its own weight. The next step is the legal response. For the first time in months, I can sleep without that knife in my back. The truth has given me back my voice, my name, my dignity. And now that I have those back, I'm moving toward what I've been waiting for, making her pay. Because if she thought this would end with a negative test result, she was dead wrong. This is just the beginning. 4 months since the first lie, and the atmosphere has shifted, not calmed down, transformed. We've gone from accusatory glances and veiled threats to a collective retreat, not to repair the damage, but to hide the shame of participating in such a grotesque farce. The truth didn't bring comfort. It exposed all the rotten seams in the family fabric, revealing fragile loyalties and betrayals disguised as neutrality. Now that the DNA results are official and the irregularities in Marina's medical documents are exposed, new rumors are circulating. Some family members are saying that maybe Marina was confused, or she might have mental health issues. Others are suggesting that she isn't right in the head, and everything was the result of an emotional crisis. But not one person, not a single one except my dad, Kevin, and Roberto, has offered me a direct apology. Shame turned them all into cowards. It's easier to invent excuses than to admit they condemned an innocent man they'd known their whole lives. My aunt, the same one who uninvited me from family dinner, had the nerve to tell my dad that we all need to move past this as a family. Move past this, like it was some minor disagreement over Thanksgiving politics. She couldn't even say it to my face. My cousin Valeria, who texted me that 3-paragraph condemnation, now acts like nothing happened, sent me a casual invite to her kids' birthday party last week. No acknowledgement of how she'd treated me, no apology, just this bizarre pretense that we were still on normal terms. Raphael finally reappeared, though not how I expected. He showed up at my apartment, looking haggard and pale. He couldn't meet my eyes as he told me that Marina had confessed to making everything up. No pregnancy, no relationship, nothing. She admitted doing it because she was furious I'd fired her. According to her, I'd humiliated her, and she needed to make me pay. Raphael spoke like a defeated man, but I felt no sympathy. Learning that a grown woman could maintain a lie for months, fake a pregnancy, forge documents, and nearly destroy a family out of vindictive spite triggered a fury so cold I couldn't even respond with anger. I just stared at him as he kept repeating that he didn't know what to say, and that he understood if I never wanted to see him again. Everything in me wanted to remind him that he'd tried to physically attack me, that he'd chosen a woman he'd known for 3 years over his brother of 35 years. Instead, all I said was, "Get out." He tried to say more, but I held up my hand. "Get the fent out." He left without another word. The next day, I got a message from Marina, the first direct contact since it all began. No apology, no admission of guilt. Instead, she wrote, "I know everything got out of control, but I'm going through a hard time emotionally and didn't fully understand the consequences of my actions. Please withdraw the lawsuit. Do it for Raphael, if not for me." Reading those words, I had to check multiple times to process the audacity. This woman, who for months defamed me, who encouraged the lie, who fueled it on social media, was now asking for compassion. asking me not to destroy what she herself had dynamited. I didn't respond. Instead, I met with my lawyer and told him to proceed with the lawsuit for defamation, document forgery, and moral damages. We calculated the financial damage too, the lost contracts, the equipment I'd had to sell to keep the business afloat, the reputation damage that would take years to rebuild. It came to over $200,000 in direct losses, not counting future business impact or emotional damages. This isn't about clearing my name anymore, that's already happening. It's about establishing a precedent, about Marina and everyone who participated in this lie understanding that words have consequences, that actions have weight, and that no one has the right to destroy another person's life out of anger, envy, or resentment. Some people might call this vindictive. I call it justice. I don't care if it's slow or if the punishment isn't severe enough. What I want is a record, an official document stating in clear terms that I was defamed, that lies were told about me, that I was persecuted without reason. I want Marina to face that stain every time she applies for a job. I want her to know there's a legal ruling contradicting her whispered version of events. I want Raphael to remember that his blind faith in a lie turned me into a pariah. This isn't impulsive revenge, it's meticulous justice, a reparation that doesn't seek to shout but to establish facts. Everyone who participated in this nightmare will face consequences with the same coldness they showed when condemning me. 6 months since the poison dart was launched, and today, looking back at the emotional storm, the losses, the isolation caused by a crafted lie, I can say that truth has not only been legally recognized but has produced real consequences. Justice has spoken with the implacable weight of evidence, cross-examinations, forensic reports, and testimonies that dismantled Marina's artifice piece by piece. The final hearing was held last week, closing this chapter officially. But let's not kid ourselves. Wounds from this kind of betrayal don't heal with court rulings. They remain under the skin, soothed only when the aggressor pays for the damage caused. The hearing was unforgettable, not as a climax, but because for the first time I saw everyone involved gathered in one place, forced to face the truth without excuses or evasions. Marina arrived, dressed with studied sobriety, faking a composure that crumbled within minutes of presenting evidence. When my lawyer showed the falsified documents, ultrasounds belonging to different patients, forged medical records, pregnancy certificates from non-existent clinics, there was no defense possible. It was so crude, so grotesque, so obviously built on deceit that even her attorney simply nodded and asked for clemency, citing emotional distress and temporary mental instability as mitigating factors. But then came the turning point. When the prosecution presented final evidence, clinic records cross-referenced against Marina's documents, timestamp inconsistencies, and metadata pulled from the PDF she submitted, her lawyer leaned in and went quiet. She didn't confess, she didn't cry, she just sat there blinking as the reality hit. Her attorney requested a recess, came back, and quietly submitted a statement acknowledging that the documents were forged and that no pregnancy ever existed. It wasn't a breakdown, it was defeat without a fight. Raphael sat through the entire confession, his face getting paler by the minute. Not once did he look my way. My mother wasn't there. She'd claimed illness, which my dad later told me was just shame. She couldn't face it. My dad sat behind me the entire time, a solid presence at my back. Kevin and Roberto flanked me on either side, the only people besides my father who had believed me from the start. When the judge announced the ruling, my dad put his hand on my shoulder. That simple gesture meant more than 1,000 words. The ruling was clear. Marina committed aggravated defamation, document forgery, and moral damages. She was ordered to pay a significant fine in installments over several years, plus a restraining order preventing her from approaching or communicating with me for at least 3 years. It wasn't a prison sentence. That's not what I wanted. What I sought was a precedent, an official document validating everything I'd said from day one, something that restores, even partially, the dignity taken from me by a woman who played victim without caring who she destroyed. The judge also ordered her to post a public retraction on the same social media platforms where she'd spread the lies. Within 24 hours, she had to explicitly state that she had falsely accused me, that there was never any relationship between us, and that she had fabricated the entire pregnancy. Since the ruling, I've received messages from relatives who previously turned their backs on me. Some offer vague excuses about not knowing what to think or wanting to stay out of it out of prudence. Others have opted for total silence, hoping time will erase their complicity. Raphael tried calling multiple times. I blocked his number. Whatever he has to say, I'm not interested. The brother I knew would never have believed those lies, would never have tried to physically harm me, would never have abandoned me when I needed him most. My mother sent a tearful voicemail begging me to talk to her. I haven't returned the call. Some betrayals run too deep to be fixed with tears and apologies. 1 year has passed. My business has not only recovered, but expanded. It wasn't overnight. For months, I worked with a half-dead schedule, scraping by with part-time repair jobs and one loyal client who didn't care about the rumors. I knew silence wouldn't clear my name, so I did what I do best, fixed things myself. I posted the court verdict and my full side of the story on the business website, pinned it on our Google reviews, and let the receipts speak. One of the bigger clients who dropped me? They came back after their legal team saw the ruling. That one contract alone covered 2 months of operating costs. I didn't beg for trust, I just rebuilt it piece by piece. Then I hired 2 part-time employees and moved to a larger location across town. The court ruling became public record, and slowly, the real story replaced the lies that had circulated. I heard through my dad that Raphael and Marina divorced shortly after the trial. Apparently, the public humiliation was too much for their relationship to bear. Raphael moved to another state for work, or maybe just to escape the memories. Either way, it's better for both of us. He tried reaching out again last month. A letter this time, handwritten, saying he wanted to make amends, that he'd been blinded by love and manipulated by a professional liar. He said he missed his brother and wanted to rebuild our relationship. I burned the letter without finishing it. Some bridges once burned should stay that way. My mother and I have an uneasy truce. We see each other at holidays, exchange pleasantries, but the warmth is gone. She chose sides when it mattered most, and that's not something I can forget, even if I've technically forgiven her. My dad and I are closer than ever. He stood by me when it counted, never doubted me for a second. We have dinner every Sunday now, a new tradition born from the ashes of the old family dynamics. Kevin got promoted to shop manager, a position he earned by staying loyal when it would have been easier to bail. Roberto and I still meet for drinks every week, our friendship stronger for having weathered the storm. As for Marina, she moved across the country after failing to make the first 3 payments on her fine. My lawyer says this is common. People think they can outrun court judgments by relocating. What she didn't realize is we were ready. We filed to enforce the judgment in her new state. A few anonymous negative reviews popped up on my business profile not long after she moved. Same writing style, same weird punctuation. We flagged them, built a digital paper trail. If she keeps trying to play games, we'll nail her for harassment next. The truth may have set me free, but it didn't restore everything I lost. Some friends never came back. Some family relationships remain strained or broken. Some potential clients still hear whispers and choose to take their business elsewhere. But I've rebuilt something stronger from the rubble. A business that doesn't depend on family connections, friendships based on loyalty tested by fire. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I disagree. Justice, real justice, isn't revenge at all. It's restoration. And that's what I got. Not perfect justice, not complete restoration, but enough to look at myself in the mirror each morning and know that when they tried to bury me, I refused to become a grave. Instead, I became exactly what they feared most, someone who wouldn't keep his mouth shut. So, Reddit, do you think Raphael deserves a second chance? Was cutting him off the right call? I've tried putting myself in his shoes, but damn it, man, he believed a woman over his own brother. That's not something you just bounce back from. Anyway, appreciate you reading this far. How would you handle it if you were in my place?